On the first half, we're fighting two waves of enemies, starting with a mix of F2P agents. I start by going to one side and using Xingqiu's burst to knock one of the pyro gunners into the rest of the group. The pyro gunners jump backwards if you get too close to them, so I want to prevent them from getting split apart. After I get the two pyro gunners on the same side of the fight, I switch my focus to the cryo gunner, using him as the focal point for Sucrose' skill and burst. We want to prioritize getting rid of the cryo gunner as quickly as possible, ideally before he puts his shield up. If he stays alive for any longer than that, there's a good chance that you'll get chain frozen by him and the Mirror Maiden. I'm using a kind of soup team here because the previous chambers have a lot of shields with a variety of elements. The key member on this team is Sucrose, who offers the CC and AoE damage that you really need to get through this half quickly. In general, I recommend using a Taser or Hotpot team who can deal a lot of AoE damage supported by an Anemo grouper. After defeating the Cryo Gunner, I switch my focus to the Mirror Maiden. Normally I would try to chase down the Pyro Gunners first, but in this case they're low enough that I'm confident I can defeat them with AoE damage. When attacking the Mirror Maiden, I try to push her towards the front of the arena, which is where the next wave spawns. She also has this move where she teleports backwards, so by keeping her back facing the front of the arena, she'll gradually move in that direction. On the second wave, we're fighting 4 fungi of various elements. This wave is a little more straightforward and can be dealt with fairly easily as long as you can group them together. If you find that you're having trouble staying alive against the Geo waves that periodically come through, consider focusing down the Geo fungus first. Its Geo aura is what causes those waves to spawn every 15 seconds. On the second half, we're fighting 4 flying ruin drakes. I found that this is a very tough fight because they're hard to group and they deal a lot of damage. The approach that worked best for me was to group and take them down 2 at a time. I start by running to one of the corners between 2 of the drakes and swap to my archer to start knocking them down. Aim for the weak spots that are glowing, which are usually the 2 up on their wings, but can sometimes be their head or chest when they're using one of their special attacks. First, take down one of the 2 ruin drakes that are closest to you, and then go for the one directly behind it, which should be moving towards you at this point. This should create a position where the 2 drakes are grounded relatively close to each other, which is a great opportunity to deal some AoE damage to both of them. While this is happening, the other 2 drakes will be constantly bombarding you with attacks, so try your best to avoid some of their damage with dashes and burst iframes. I'm using Xiangling and Rosaria as my core AoE damage dealers, with Fischl mixed in there for some extra damage and occasional overloaded reactions. Really, any team comp that can deal strong AoE damage will work here, such as Freeze, Taser, Overload, Burgeon, Xiao, and Ito, just to name a few. The main constraint here is just making sure you can stay alive and making room for an archer on your team. I found that Overload Fischl was pretty nice here because the explosions would sometimes randomly hit their weak spots and give me some extra damage windows for free. Once I've defeated the first 2 drakes, I repeat the same process with the other 2, looking for a good angle to take them down close to each other. The builds will follow right after this, and they're also in the video description. As always, thank you so much for watching.